After watching this game, I thought it would end up being the craziest game of the night, with the Hawks somehow making that wild comeback against the Knicks. Obviously, we did have the Wolves Nuggets game, which I will have a separate video on later. But with this Knicks Hawks game, this is a massive win for the Hawks. Stealing a game at MSG is critical for them if they want to come away with the win in this series. And doing it in the fashion that they did is really going to mess with New York's mental, give the Hawks a lot of confidence. We all know that New York is a pretty dominant fourth quarter team. They've been talking about it all the time on the NBC broadcasts, but Atlanta really pulled through late, and they didn't even play their best game. Alexander Walker had a single-digit game, which is shocking for them to have and still come away with the win. CJ McCollum didn't have the most consistent end to the game, but he hit those big shots when it mattered. Those missed free throws didn't quite come back to bite them in the same way that OGs did for New York. So this is a massive win for Atlanta, and I still very much like their chances of pulling out the win in this series. It was clear this game that Atlanta was trying to match New York's physicality. That was a big issue for them in game one. It took a little bit for them to settle into that, but in the second quarter, they really had a few stretches where they got that going. They were playing fast, constant ball movement, which is when Atlanta is going to be at their best. They do have to find that balance between running the Knicks off the floor and not making hasty decisions, trying to push the ball up too fast. There was a few bad shots, few turnovers for Atlanta that could have been easily avoided and could have turned into very valuable possessions if they just slowed it down for a few seconds, let the game catch back up to them. But on the whole, much better game for Atlanta. They really did do a good job of matching the energy that New York is bringing. CJ McCollum obviously had that massive fourth quarter, led Atlanta to the win down the stretch. Even going back to game one, though, and throughout the rest of game two, he has looked like their best offensive player. It makes sense. He has the most playoff experience of any guy on their roster. So until the rest of the team, Jalen Johnson and Alexander Walker in particular, kind of settle into the playoff style of ball, I do think he should be handling the biggest offensive load. If he hadn't taken the reins over in that fourth quarter, I doubt that they come away with the win, and a 2-0 deficit for Atlanta would have pretty much ended any chances of coming away with the win in the series. So I do think that McCollum should be that guy until it becomes clear that Jalen Johnson is ready to take back over. Despite the Knicks' loss yesterday, they should be pretty encouraged by how their front court played. Mitchell Robinson, obviously, always going to make a big impact. And then Cat had a pretty good game yesterday. Not sure if the stats back this up, but to me, it felt like a better game than his game one performance. Obviously, that is going to be tarnished by the fact that they didn't pull out the win, but I do think that Cat was playing much more aggressive than he was in game one. He was playing some bully ball, which is great for Atlanta. They really need him to be that clear-cut number two option behind Brunson if they do want to dispatch an Atlanta team that has seemed to come alive. That fourth quarter collapse for the Knicks is pretty catastrophic, in all honesty. Shot at the buzzer is not the shot you want to be getting. Apparently, there was some confusion from the broadcast about whether or not the Knicks had a timeout. It seems they didn't have a timeout, but even so, they had like 5 seconds after the rebound. You have to be able to come up with a better shot with that time than a contested midi from Mikal Bridges. He's absolutely not the guy you want taking that shot. So unfortunate for the Knicks there. In terms of heading into game three, the Hawks really need Jalen Johnson and Nickeil Alexander-Walker to pull through. They've had two pretty quiet games so far, so the Hawks should be feeling very good about being tied up 1-1 in the series. They have lots of room for improvement on the offensive end, which is great for them. And if their defense can stay locked in, I do still like the Hawks in this matchup. I think if any series in round one is going to go 7, it is going to be this one. We have two very experienced coaches playing a very advanced game of chess, and two very different but also similar teams that I think will make for a very interesting series as this continues. If I had to take one team, I am still taking Atlanta in this series. Again, like I already mentioned, they really have not gotten the offense they would expect to see from their top two guys, and in spite of that, they were still able to steal a game at MSG. So heading into their two home games, I think that they have a chance of taking both of them, in which case I don't think that New York can complete the 3-1 comeback. If Atlanta does split them 1-1 and we're 2-2 heading back to MSG, it does get a little bit more dicey for them. They would likely need a Game 5 win. It would be very tough for a team as inexperienced as Atlanta to pull off 2 straight wins when they're down 3-2 in a must-win environment. I don't think it's impossible, but these next 2 games back in Atlanta are going to be the most critical of the series in my mind. With all that said, I do have the Hawks winning this one. I'm going Hawks in 7.
Atlanta comes all the way back from 14 down.